Obviously, recently, Demetrious Andrade has actually called out Golovkin, and it's a fight that seems interesting for everyone involved. But for whatever reason, Golovkin doesn't seem like he wants to fight Demetrious Andrade. Now, Demetrious Andrade, even though he's a three-time world champion, he's in a weird position in his career. For whatever reason, nobody wants to actually fight him. If you look at it, the big marquee fighters like the Canelos, the Golovkins, even to some extent Billy Joe Saunders, they've to some extent have avoided Demetrious Andrade. Now, a fight between Golovkin and Demetrious Andrade, I think, will be a very interesting fight. And at this point in time, I might even favour Demetrious Andrade to actually beat Golovkin. Golovkin, since the last 2-3 years, has seemed like he has severely slowed down. He doesn't seem like the old Golovkin that was knocking out, had like 20 consecutive knockouts. If you look at his fight against Derevchenko, he looked like he really struggled in that fight, and he looked like he was swimming up water. And a lot of people thought that Derevchenko actually gave him a very good fight, and you can potentially give it to Derevchenko. That's a far cry from the Golovkin that was actually knocking out, that was on a run and knocking out 20 consecutive middleweights in a row when he was defending his title. So I think Demetrious Andrade at this point in time is just struggling to get the big fights, because he's in a position where he's almost too good for his own good. He's in a position where nobody wants to actually fight him, because it's high risk and low reward. If you beat Demetrious Andrade, you will get some credit for it, but the reward is not as high as the risk of actually losing to him. The risk of losing to Demetrious Andrade is that he's got one of them styles that he's a bit of a spoiler. He makes good fighters look bad against him because of the fact that he's such an awkward fighter. Nobody wants to go in there with him. So in my opinion, I just think Demetrious Andrade is probably one of the most underrated fighters in the sport at this point in time. Nobody wants to fight him because he's just too difficult to actually get a good fight against, so look good against. So in my opinion, I think Golovkin, the reason why he's not responded to Demetrious Andrade is because Demetrious Andrade is high risk, but he doesn't offer anything in return. There's nothing that he can get from actually fighting him. But what do you think about a fight between Demetrious Andrade and Golovkin? Do you think Golovkin at this point in time would it still beat Demetrious Andrade, or do you think Demetrious Andrade he's just not on the same caliber as a Golovkin? In terms of accomplishment, it's not even close. Obviously, Golovkin has accomplished a lot more in his career than Demetrious Andrade has. He has been on the pound for pound list for a very long time. In terms of who is actually much better, at this point in time, I might actually say Demetrious Andrade is much fresher. He's got a longer reach, he's taller, and he's got a lot more going for him at this moment in time than I think Golovkin has. Golovkin looks like he's on the way down at this point in time. His fight against Derevchenko, he didn't look the same, and I just think the wars that he's had, the 400 amateur fights, obviously he's had about 40 professional fights, and he's taken a lot of punishment as well. He doesn't look the same as he once did. So in my opinion, if they were to fight, I think I would lean towards Demetrious Andrade to actually beat Golovkin. I actually thought Demetrious Andrade would beat Billy Joe Saunders, because I think Billy Joe Saunders, he does everything that Demetrious Andrade does, but he's not as long, and he doesn't have a bigger reach, and he's not as awkward. Obviously, both of them went to the Olympics, so both of them have that Olympic pedigree. But I just think Demetrious Andrade just had a bit too much for Billy Joe Saunders, and I'm not saying that he ducked him, because he did sign to fight him, but I don't think he was as eager to fight Demetrious Andrade as he was to fight other great fighters that have actually called him out in the past. So in my opinion, I think Demetrious Andrade is in one of them weird precarious positions where I think he needs to force a mandatory. He needs to put himself in a position where they have to fight him. They can't avoid him. He can't get a fight as a voluntary opponent for the big guys, for like the Golovkins and the Canelo. He needs to put himself in a mandatory position to get a shot at the title, because they're not going to go out their way to fight him. But that's my opinion on Demetrious Andrade. I just think he's in one of them weird positions where like he won't be given a shot anytime soon, but he needs to put himself in a position where he can get a shot, because he is getting older now. So yeah, that's my opinion. Tell me your opinion. What do you think of a fight between Golovkin and Demetrious Andrade? Who do you think would win that particular fight? Like and subscribe to the channel. I've got a lot more content coming your way. Peace out.